Our kidneys are responsible for neutralizing harmful elements as well as eliminating toxins. Of course, in order to keep our kidneys healthy and normal, we need to watch what we eat, and in particular, not to consume those foods that are detrimental to our kidneys. It is in this video that I have compiled the foods that we should not eat if we want to keep our kidneys healthy. So, watch this video to the end. It will be very interesting and useful. By the way, friends, be sure to subscribe to my channel and click on the bell too, to not miss my news. The first thing that needs to be mentioned is excessive sodium intake, because if we consume foods rich in sodium for too long in too large amounts, over time it will lead to an enlargement of our kidneys and their cells. It will also lead to fibrosis of the kidneys, which will cause them to harden, loss of function, and eventually lead to kidney failure. The whole point is that when we consume too much sodium, it very healthily reduces the ability of our kidneys to filter our waste products. Also, consuming too much sodium can contribute to high blood pressure. Blood pressure is such an insidious thing, and it brings with it a whole tangle of additional problems. It provokes atherosclerosis, that is, as a consequence of heart attacks and strokes. And on the kidney too, blood pressure has a negative impact. And scientists say unequivocally, if you want to save your kidneys, then sodium intake should be dosed. And what is sodium? First and foremost, it is the well-known table salt. Of course, there is no point to completely eliminate sodium from our diet, because also scientists have long been calculated that a normal adult, healthy person needs to consume from 2 to 5 grams of salt per day. So there is such a golden mean, 2 to 5 grams, no more, no less. The problem is that the average modern person consumes, as a rule, 10 to 15 grams of salt per day, because we actively salt food and eat foods that are already rich in salt, often without even realizing it. That is, we buy a ready-made factory-made product and automatically increase our daily sodium dosage, damaging our kidneys. This could include, for example, foods such as canned meat, any other meat products such as ham, sausage, and so on. Frozen foods also tend to be very rich in sodium. As a rule, canned foods are also actively rich in salt. So we can eat, for example, beans out of a can, believing that beans are a good, healthy product. But we don't realize that if they are from a can, there is probably too much salt for us. Various sauces and salad dressings, ketchups, ready-to-eat foods, even bread, tend to contain a pretty solid dose of salt. It's also just a habit to salt our food. Boil ourselves some healthy porridge, salt it. We make ourselves a very healthy fish, also salt. Taken together, this adds up to an excessive intake of sodium. Moving on. The next point is sugary drinks. Of course, it is well known that drinking sugary sodas greatly increases the risk of both obesity and diabetes, as well as being inflammatory, provoking chronic disease, accelerating the aging process, and so on. But a separate study has been done regarding the kidneys, and it showed that if a person consumes 2 or more servings of a sweet drink a day, it leads to a very rapid decline in kidney function. The fact is that those killer doses of sugar contained in such soda reduce the filtration rate of our kidneys. There is also a connection between the increased consumption of carbonated beverages and the formation of kidney stones. It's all about the fact that very often phosphoric acid is added to the soda. So various sodas by all canons of a healthy diet should be banned, not only because of their shock load on the kidney, but in general because of their shock load on almost all organs and tissues of our body. Moving on. The next point is sugary drinks. Of course, it is well known that drinking sugary sodas greatly increases the risk of both obesity and diabetes, as well as being inflammatory, provoking chronic disease, accelerating the aging process, and so on. But a separate study has been done regarding the kidneys, and it showed that if a person consumes 2 or more servings of a sweet drink a day, it leads to a very rapid decline in kidney function. The fact is that those killer doses of sugar contained in such soda reduce the filtration rate of our kidneys. There is also a connection between the increased consumption of carbonated beverages and the formation of kidney stones. It's all about the fact that very often phosphoric acid is added to the soda. So various sodas by all canons of a healthy diet should be banned, not only because of their shock load on the kidney, but in general because of their shock load on almost all organs and tissues of our body. Moving on. The next point is the excessive consumption of protein. Again, I want to emphasize excessive consumption. Just like with salt, there is a golden mean, and with protein too. A normal person needs to consume about 1 gram of protein per kilogram of body weight. If you are active in sports, it is about 1.5 grams for each kilogram of your body weight. Taking less than 1 gram is bad, and taking more than 2 grams for every kilogram of body weight is also bad, and it can lead to negative consequences for our kidneys. So there was a study that found that those people who ate an increased amount of red meat every day for a lifetime had a much higher risk of developing chronic kidney disease. By the way, that study showed that red meat is worse from a kidney point of view than white meat or protein from plant sources. The fact is that the increased consumption of protein puts extra strain on our kidneys. So nutritionists recommend, first, not to overeat red meat. Second, in general, not to overeat protein. And third, provide variety, eat protein in the form of white meat. That is poultry, in the form of fish, and of course, from plant sources. Of plant sources, legumes are the champions. Protein is also found in cereals, and you can also add some nuts. With nuts, by the way, you should be careful. Nuts are certainly very healthy foods, but the food is quite heavy and they need to be dosed as well. No more than a handful a day. Moving on. The next foods that are detrimental to our kidneys are those enriched with purines. These include, for example, fatty broths and byproducts, and various canned meat and fish. The fact is that when purines are broken down, they form uric acid, and its excess is excreted by the kidneys. And if the kidneys cannot cope with this load, the uric acid begins to settle in the joints, tendons, and as a consequence can develop gout and kidney stones. It is also worth mentioning spices separately. Of course, many of us like them. But it's not for nothing that spicy food is considered unhealthy. It is an increased stress for our gastrointestinal tract as well, which is well known, and we can feel it literally immediately. Also, spicy spices cause irritation in our kidneys and negatively affect their functional activity. And of course, it was impossible not to say in this video about bad habits, smoking and alcohol. I think everything is clear here. It's obvious. But if I hadn't told you about it, you could have wondered why such a basic and obvious thing wasn't said. Anyway, there certainly can't be any alternative opinions or arguments here. Yes, bad habits certainly have a negative effect on our kidneys. By the way, friends, post in the comments, which of these foods do you eat? Tell me, it will be interesting. And now I highly recommend that you watch my other video. The link to the video just appeared on your screen. And if you like this video, please like it and subscribe to my channel. See you soon.